to note that this working party has no delegated authority and may only make recommendations to full council. Urgent actions may be taken under delegated authority given to the clerk and me, the chair. Thank you. Item 2, apologies for absence.
None received.
None received, okay.
Other than Vicky, of course.
Oh yeah, okay. Apologies for, item 3, declarations of pecuniary interest and request for dispensation. I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest on application 2, Samuel Ward. Is it all right for the committee, for the working party, if I say something and then hopefully the vice chair, which would be Councillor Brown, will take over if he agrees at that particular item, which is item 2. Okay, is there any more? No? Okay. Right, item 4, minutes of the previous meetings. Are you able to put it up, Colin?
Yeah, I can do.
That's page 298. Two 99. $300. $301. $302. $303. And 304. $305. And I think that's it, isn't it?
Yep.
Thank you. Can I have a proposer and a seconder that I can sign those minutes as a true record? Councillor Mann. Oh no, you're not on here, Councillor McManus. Councillor Smith. Oh yes, you are. Sorry, I do apologise, Councillor McManus. I do apologise. I'm sorry. And then Councillor Liz Smith, second it. All those in favour, please show. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I will get corrected. There's a couple of typos I spotted in there in terms of spelling of neutral, etc. So I'll make sure those are corrected for the copy you sign.
Okay. Is there any other comments on them minutes at all? Councillor Dave Smith.
Just to note that the comment I made about the scaffolding seems to have been corrected now, so there's plenty of access now for wheelchairs to the zebra crossing, Swan Lane. So it's good to see.
Thanks for that. Thank you. item 6, members of the public to speak on planning matters other than the applications before the working party. Okay, I think Debbie Farrington wants to talk on this, if I'm correct. I've been told. Have you
Yes.
Ah, right, lovely. I
I've
can hear you.
it now.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to give you an update of where we're at. Obviously, we got back rejected a little while back, which we've been struggling with, because when we purchased the property, the land, it transpires that the reserve matters had run out in 2018. We didn't purchase 2020. We've paid, we've never done something like this before, and we've paid all the professional services to guide us through this journey we're on, to find out that we've been misinformed by absolutely everybody. So we are going to appeal, but we have gone to appeal, but we've been told that's going to take West Suffolk approximately 8 months, which we're really struggling. The case officer who dealt with it originally, Amy Maguire, we worked really hard with her and our architect in meetings to get what the council wanted us to build. And pretty much we want to build what's similar opposite us, albeit on a smaller scale. We've done 2 or 3 pre-apps to iron out any issues. And then we thought we'd got there. Anyway, it transpires we was never going to get planning, because there were these reserve matters that had never been dealt with, which is for the appearance, landscaping, the layout, scale. And my architect had not put in such an application. He just dealt with reserve matters, discharge of condition, sorry. But we thought that was our planning application. And then we had to get building regs, which we got. Then we got the go-ahead from our architect to say, it's all been approved, go, 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 you can build. So that's when we started the footings on the garage, and then on the house. West Suffolk came out, building control, come and signed them off. And then to find Christmas, we got an email from our architect to say, where's your consent form? I can't find it my end. So we gave him what he gave us, and he said, no, that isn't planning. But you told us we had planning. We pay you to get us through this. We've never done any of this before. So then we put it for full planning again, but unfortunately, Alice Maguire left on the Friday before Christmas. And then Amy Murray took over. Now, we thought we'd paying for all these pre-apps, that we'd ironed out all these issues, to find out Amy Murray blatantly said, you're not building that house. I don't like anything about it, and I'm going to reject your application. Now, from our point of view, what we paid for the land and the 75,000 we've spent on surveys, insurances, footing, steels, electric, we are £250,000 in. So we've had to pay another professional. Our architect's parted company with us because it's not in our best interest to keep him on. We're now 250,000 in with our investment. We only come from Money Piece Close. This was supposed to be our dream, only to find out that it's our utter nightmare. We've done everything and paid all the professional services to guide us on this route to feel that we've been let down. And in fact, West Suffolk pointed out that we were misinformed. As I say, we've put in for appeal now, but the problem we're having is, you know, I'm renting a place with some friends. They're helping us out. All my stuff is in storage. The cost implications it's having on us. As I say, we're just living a nightmare. We have been back up on site. We weren't in a good place, but we've started to go back on site because we can do some gardening as such. Obviously, we can't build. We know that. So like we've tidied the verge up, and I'm just wondering if there's any way that we can not fast track us, but if someone could treat our case as urgent, because we feel we haven't done anything wrong in all of this.
So sorry to hear this.
Yeah.
It must be devastating for you.
Yeah.
I've never known anything like this. I must admit, I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
Councillor Burns.
Well, let me understand this. You're saying to me the planning the planning permission expired in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So it has expired. So there's nothing you can do about that other than apply for new planning permission. When you say the 8 months, that will be. Don't forget, the appeal is not done by West Suffolk. That is done by planning inspector. So that will be the planning inspector. There's no such thing as fast tracking or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
They work. It's a government department. They work at their own pace. It sounds to me, and I may be wrong, and it's not up to West Suffolk to advise you on this necessarily, that whoever your planning consultant should have told you the right facts, that you didn't. I mean, it's pretty, you know, and I fully understand what you're saying, but it's pretty straightforward. If planning permission is expired, you don't do anything and apply for new. You know, you could go back with exactly the same plans and ask for it to be done again, and then you'll have another 3 years to start getting it done. You know, you have to get to a certain stage, like footings and things like that, to be put in. So that's why they've said that. Now, in terms of, you know, officers leaving and going and everything, that happens all the time in planning. It's probably the one department in West Suffolk that seems to have a massive turnover of staff. But I don't know how much more you can do if you've already gone to appeal, other than put another planning application in. Well, exactly the same one as you've got. You know, if you're happy with the one that's already there, put it back in exactly as is, and you know, that'll go through the process a lot quicker than any appeal will. And you can have a planning application running at the same time as appeal.
Yeah, but that's what we did do. We got rejected.
Yeah.
And we put it in again to be rejected.
Yeah, but it's rejected on various grounds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the problem. So is it that planning application that you've gone to appeal with?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, so that's now in the legal framework of planning appeal.
Yeah.
You can put another planning application in again. Of course you can. You can put as many as you like in for the same bit of land. But have to.
The problem we've got, when we bought the property, we were under constraints from the person who we bought the plot off of. That's why our building's at an angle. Originally, we didn't want it at an angle. We wanted it facing opposite the building, opposite us, straight on. But because of the constraints we were under, we had to come out at an angle because we couldn't go past this guy's building.
Right.
Because he's got a couple of young girls and he didn't want us overlooking. So that's why we had to go like that, because had we gone straight, the side windows would have been looking straight on him. But what we've put in for, we've got trees to go in, but we're also looking to have partial windows obscured.
Right, but the problem is that the application has been rejected, and I know Colin wants to talk. Application has been rejected, so it has gone. You're going through the appeal process. So as far as West Suffolk are concerned, that is finished until it goes to the appeal, and they're asked for their views, and obviously your views as well, and everybody else who wants to submit views. So I'll shut up there, Pat. Chair.
Right, thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Chair. Mrs. Farrington, did you not say that the plan permission that expired had all matters reserved, and it was when you tried to get the reserved matters through that you hit the rocks?
That's correct.
Right. So to be in terms of the plan permission you had, that wasn't the necessary planning permission, even though it's expired. Even when it hadn't expired, it still wasn't sufficient to be able to build the house because you needed to address the reserved matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
so I think
where
it's
my architect failed.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that, and I think I think we'll all share that it's ridiculous, really, that it should be that situation. But I assume that you have spoken to solicitors about the situation in any case. In terms of the whole point of using professionals is because they have, apart from professionalism, they have liability insurance as well.
Yes.
But in terms of simply putting the same application back in again, you would run the risk that exactly the same concerns would be raised and you would get exactly the same outcome.
Yeah.
So I think you need to take professional advice, but one of the things you may well need to consider is that you need to change the design of the building. And I appreciate that's difficult because of the investment you've made into the footprint, in order to actually, what people don't like about it and what the planners don't like about it. Removing those from the plan would be one way to try and push forwards on it. The difficulty is with all this is that this inevitably leads to us suggesting that you go and talk to the planners, but you've clearly had a fairly unsatisfactory outcome from last time you spoke to planners. But unfortunately, that probably is the only procedural advice we can give is seek legal advice, see what your new professionals say, and hopefully I would think that West Suffolk might at least perhaps appoint a more senior planner to assist this time round. I have myself, in a different district, experienced the thing when I had an extension built of my house where I got pre-app advice, changed the plans to match exactly what the planning officer said I should change in order to get permission, and then he rejected it. He rejected his own plan. So I share your frustration when the pre-app is never guaranteed, but it is highly irritating if the officer who gave the pre-app advice then doesn't agree with their own advice. So you have our sympathies, but I think it's going to be difficult with the existing design. Certainly I would have thought the town council comments would be exactly the same if you put exactly the same application back in.
Yeah, because Amy Murray verbally said to me, you will never ever get planning on them footings. We are willing to straighten the house up. We are willing to do that.
Yeah, I think that's down to your professional, new architect to come. They should be knowing everything they know now, everything that's happened to you. Your new architect should be able to do the proper job that should have been done last time round and make sure that your next application is fully compliant with planning regulations.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
that's okay. Thank you.
So sorry for your plight, and as Colin said, please get professional advice from your solicitor and see what you can get back, or what have you.
Okay.
That's all we can say, really, because we're not professional planners. None of us are.
Yeah.
So Colin, obviously being the clerk, knows more than what we do. That's why he's here for advice. So, good luck, and I hope you get what you want in the end.
Lovely,
But as I say, we as we're sort of we're a consultee, the town council. We don't make the decision. The decision is made by councillors in West Suffolk, but it has to go through the process, through the planners and everything. But as I say, we put our points of view, and obviously hope you take them points of view, and hope you're successful in the end.
Chair, can I just add to what you've just said there? Because we are the consultees, but actually, quite often developers come to us before they put a planning application in to find out our views. The correlation between our consultation response and the final outcome of a planning application is over 90% correlation. So there's nothing to stop any householder bringing their plans to the town council to ask for the town council to give a non-binding view, because obviously it has to be this. It's the actual planning application is what we consult on. But it's perfectly normal. It happens all the time. We have people bring their drawings to us and say, "This is what we're proposing. If we put in this application, what do you think your reaction would be?" And that doesn't cost any advice. That is free advice. We don't charge for looking at that. These meetings are give comments freely. So if you get a redesign, bring it to us before you take it into planning.
Okay, thank you.
Very good advice, Colin. Yeah, we do get developers and their massive houses. They always come to us before anything. So yeah, that's really good. Councillor McManus.
Just thank Debbie for updating us this evening. Hope it's been helpful to you. It's definitely been helpful to me. Obviously, wish you every success and feel free to come back to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else, Debbie, on this?
No, thank you.
Right, good luck.
Thank you.
Right. Item 7, to consider planning applications to West Suffolk Council. Is there any other members of the public? Colin, no? No? Right, okay. Right, list B. Application 1, which is DC 220637HH. Small A, porch. Small B, roof light to front elevation. Small C, dormer to rear elevation. Small D, detached garage to rear. Bracket, open brackets, following demolition of existing garage, close bracket. This is 9 Recreation Road. Yeah, any comments on this at all?
Do you want it up on screen?
Sorry?
Do you want it up on screen, or are you happy to make a decision?
If you can, please, yeah. Because I've got a comment on it. Yeah, it's if you go to, is this the opening one, the existing, is it?
No, this is the proposed.
Proposed, right. Yeah. If you can go to the actual garage, please. Go to the garage and let's make it bigger so you can see the size. I think it was on the left-hand side, was it? If you go, that's it, and go, yeah, go, make that bigger, that's it. If you can see there, it says the width of the garage, 2500, and the length, which is 5000. Well, that's meters, obviously 2.5 meters by 5 meters. But the new standard, new garage standards are 3 meters wide and not 2.5, and 6 meters long and not 5 meters. So you definitely wouldn't get an electric car in there. That's for
Chair,
certain.
I'm just looking at this. I don't. Well, they seem to have done. They've got 2 500. Then there's another distance of
Yeah, I
7,
think
8,
that's
8
for the
mil.
brick wall, retaining wall, I think. I don't know why they put that in there.
Right. Okay.
I think that's the distance between the garage and the retaining wall.
Right.
Not convinced.
I suppose it's because you've got steps, it's for a walkway, is it? I think that's why they put that width for the walk, so you can walk through there.
Well, that's the doorway the steps are leading to.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, right. It's a doorway. Oh, right. I thought it might be just because. Oh no, because there's a brick. I can just see the brick on that. There's some more brick going across. Councillor Stitchcombe.
Thank you, Chair. I think the lines that you thought were the wall of the garage are guidelines. They should have been dashed, I think, really, to indicate the width of the garage door. So they're saying you can only drive a car of width 2.5 meters into it, but the actual garage is wider, which is good because you want to be able to get out of your car, don't you, when you get in there? I can remember back in the bad old days driving into a garage and then struggling to get out of it. But that's why you want your extra. That's an extra 1.5 meters, isn't it? There, so it's actually 4 meters wide ish. Thank you.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that the slashed lines on the structure are the brick walls of it, but the solid lines that you took, that you correctly read off the plan are 2.5 meters apart, are just guidelines. I think they're just guidelines. They're not actual structures at all. They're just. Can you see the zigzagged item that Colin's pointing to? That's the garage door, isn't it, there at the end? And those are just guidelines saying that, yeah, if you drive a car that is the full width of the garage door through very skillfully, that's kind of indicating the footprint of your car when it gets into the garage. I'm guessing. It's not.
It's still 2.5 meters though, isn't it?
Yeah. But the garage is wider than that, isn't it? The door is only. I don't know. What are you going to tell me? There's a national standard for garage door widths? I hope there is actually, but I think the thing that you're reading is the width of the garage, isn't it? Should be 3 meters, and I'm saying this one is over 4 meters wide.
Right.
It's quite a generous width, but the door is only 2.5 meters wide.
So you agree? Yeah, I get it now.
I'm guessing. I don't know. It's not a very. I wish they would put a better key on.
You're guessing.
Okay.
But it's still short, isn't it? It's still 5 meters instead of 6.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Right. Okay. Councillor Dave Smith.
Yeah, it's obviously going up to the boundary wall, so it's obviously the width of the property, so it's going to be like 4 meters, whatever. But you mentioned about the sizes, though. Have they come in yet? I didn't think they were been brought in yet, so it might be what they're intending to do, but I'm not sure they've come in yet.
Perhaps Councillor Burns can help us on that one. I'll see his hand up.
They came in 2019, and you're dead right, Chair. It has to be 6x3. The 3 is it's actually the external width of it, but they do frown heavily on garages which have buttresses inside the building rather than outside, or whatever it might be, to keep, obviously for the strength of the building, because for that very reason you can't open the doors. So it is short by a metre anyway. It has to be 6x3, whichever way you look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just thinking about, because it's well away from the house, electric chargers, because there's going to be 2 cars tandem there. I think we should sort of say, even though I don't think it's compulsory yet, is it, to have electric chargers, but as it's away from the house as well, I think we should be sort of mentioning it personally. Okay. Right. I would like them comments to go on, whatever the decision is. If you don't, if you disagree with that, please put your hand up so that you disagree with them 2 comments that I think should go in. Okay, can I have, Councillor Smith, Dave Smith.
Well, can't we just ask them to sort of lengthen the garage back a bit more? They've got plenty of garden there by the looks of it. I mean, why don't we just say we would have no objections if they extended the garage by another metre or so?
It would need to be 2, wouldn't it? Because their hard standing is only 5 metres long, or doesn't that count?
Ask.
I think that should count personally. Yeah, Councillor Burns.
So you refer, so you're referring to the area in front of the garage?
Yeah, because it's 2 parking spaces.
It's interesting one. This one, the 6x3 actually relates to garages or carports.
Right.
But they do frown on things that are, especially ones that are in tandem, that are not the right length or width. But normally it's the length that they worry about, because obviously they don't want the cars, back end or front end going onto a pavement or anything. Probably that's not the case here, but I'm trying to find the drawing.
It's onto a private drive, isn't it? I think it says. Existing private drive, it says on there.
Yeah, I was trying to work where that was. Sorry.
Yeah, they've got plenty of garden to go back a bit, haven't they, to accommodate both of them, really? Because it says grass, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was just trying to work out where the house is actually.
So the orchard.
Chair.
Yeah, sorry, Colin.
What,
I'm having real trouble sort of swapping backwards and forwards. Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Whilst I appreciate Councillor Smith's sentiments, it's a relatively easy thing to for the applicant to resolve, but it's not helpful for us to give a mixed message where we don't object if they change something. I think if it doesn't meet the expectations as far as this council are concerned, then you should object. And it's down to the applicant to make what I agree is a very simple amendment. And then quite possibly the officer will come back and ask if we're willing to release our objection if they correct those details.
Thank you for that, Colin. Councillor Sitchcombe?
Chair, if your amendment now stands at the hard standing doesn't comply as well as the actual garage, I will second that.
Thank you. Right, my proposal then is that we object on the grounds that the garage and the hard standing is should comply with this 6 metre standard. And seconded by Councillor Sitchcombe, is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Colin, can you take the thing down now, please? And I'll be able to see everyone then. Thank you. Right, all those in favour, please show. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Right, application 2. I would like to read. Oops, bear with me. Right, which is, I declare a pecuniary interest as a paid invigilator and I'd like to speak in support of this application. I will not take part in the debate, if any, plus I will not take part in the vote. This application is a much needed 2-storey building which will provide a new sixth form seminar rooms that hopefully help future and present sixth formers to stop travelling out of town, and also maybe help create new business in the town. That's after the sixth form. It will also provide much needed engineering and art classrooms, 1-storey dance classroom facilities for use by the community, extensions to the drama and music block, plus solar panels on the roofs. Now I ask the working party to support the application, please. Right, I'll now hand you over to Councillor Brown. Thank you very much.
You're still on mute, Tony.
Thank you. I was reading the script away all on my own. Right, okay, 1 second. Right, this application is DC/21/2248/FUL. Part A, 2-storey entrance building with walkway, canopy and roof-mounted photovoltaic panels to provide new sixth form seminar rooms, meeting rooms, front office and cafe. B, 2 single-storey blocks with roof-mounted photovoltaic panels to provide engineering and art classrooms. Part C, 1 single-storey block with roof-mounted photovoltaic panels to provide dance classrooms, facilities for use also by the community. Part D, extensions to drama and music block to provide entrance lobby and to extend stage and drama facility for use also by the community. And Part E, external alterations to drama and music block, including air handling unit and ductwork. Part F, circular courtyard with canopied roof. Part G, associated landscaping works, including enclosed sixth form garden, suds, drainage and pond, and emergency and maintenance access route. The applicant is Mr. Andrew Hunter on behalf of Unity Schools Partnership. Thank you. Can we put that up on the screen? Well, drawings.
Yep, I can do, Stanley. Did the committee want to see the original consultation response, or are they familiar with our original?
Have a quick review of that, please, Colin.
Then do you want to put up the there's a location plan which shows the site quite well?
Yes, please. Okay, I got you to speak, John. I'll call you up in a minute. Okay.
Okay, actually, while that location plan's online, this is an interesting one because I went to the very first presentation of this with Councillor Lucarini. And I have absolutely no problem with the buildings and all that sort of stuff. I'm a little bit surprised that the red line is as it is, because obviously that's not the school. They've been very particular about what they've put red lines around. I don't know why their architects have done that. They've excluded, obviously, the gymnasium. They've excluded the science block, or whatever it's called, in the current sixth form centre. So I'm a little bit worried about that. So I fully support the building. I fully support the reasons for the building, etc., etc. Where my concerns are, and I am going to be writing to the officer to put this on a call-in for the time being, on a provisional call-in, primarily because of the parking situation, and also the fact that they haven't responded to the town council's comments, which was raised about, I think probably by me, about construction management plan, lack of. I'm not asking for one at this stage, but it should at least be referred to by their planning consultants. They're spending a lot of money on planning consultants. They should be doing this. My big problem is parking. They've got 150 extra children. They're not going to have any extra staff, which is amazing. So does that mean the class sizes are going to go through the roof? I don't know. Okay, there may not be any parking for people on site needed extra, but we've got 150 children coming to the school. Now, their transport assessment is extremely poor, done by a company. Basically, they asked all the young people how you get to school, and only 25% of them responded. So it's not a true representation. Now, I've asked the school, well, it's going to be 3 times by tomorrow, for their transport plan, their current transport plan. How do they deal with school people coming to and from the school, whether it be staff or pupils or visitors or whoever it might be? Equally, I've asked Westfield and Couples, they've also not answered me. This seems to be a function of the Unity Trust. Don't seem to like to answer these sort of questions. I've had this before several times. But however, saying that, on the current plans, and they've ignored some of the parking spaces they've already got because they've excluded them from the red line. So down near the gymnasium, down the bottom right, there are actually parking spaces there already. Behind what is the current drama studio and classrooms, there are parking spaces for Samuel Ward School, but they've not included them. So at the moment, they've got 227 spaces, of which only 3 are disabled, which I find is extremely low. Are they saying that no teachers, no staff or anybody else have got any disabilities? But in their transport assessment, they say they're going to add an extra 11 spaces. Now, there are 11 spaces marked, but equally, they're also removing 2. So the actual net effect is only 9. So those 9 spaces, they keep saying they're not going to have any extra staff, which I totally disbelieve. I cannot believe for 150 extra children, they're not going to have any extra staff, even if it's cleaners or anybody like that. So that's what I will be objecting to the planning officer, just to let you know. But the rest of it, I actually have no problem, other than they haven't also answered the question about the courtyard system is actually being built on the land that they promised would be left green. And I don't know what their answer to that is. That's what they did when they built the blocks over the science block to the southeast. They did say this is what that was going to be done. So I'm a little bit surprised this is happening, although I fully support the concept. Thank you.
John, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this?
It's Councillor Smith.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Councillor Smith, please.
I reviewed our response last time. I still feel that the points haven't been addressed really, and although they're not objections at stuff as such, I think our comments are still valid. So I think we should stick with our neutral and repeating our comments. And that's my proposal.
Okay, is that a definite proposal, Councillor Smith? Yeah. Okay. Have we got any seconders for Councillor Dave Smith? Councillor Liz Smith. Okay. Can we have a show of hands, please? So I think that is unanimous. So basically, we're proposing. Yeah, the proposal is neutral, keeping to the same comments as before. But yeah.
Chair, can I just for some clarification, the comments before was the comprehensive construction development plan. That doesn't exist yet. No. They have produced a transport plan, but I agree with Councillor Burns that it is absolutely useless. I have already written to the planning officer to question whether it's even fit for purpose. Our previous consultation response in the case of the land was not that it was to be left green, but that it was specified by Sport England to be retained as a recreation sporting facility as compensation for the previous Block D being built on a sports pitch. There is a consultation response from Sport England who say that as there's a path running straight through the middle of it, it's no good as a sporting facility, and therefore they have no objection to it being built on. I mean, it had a path running through it beforehand. Yeah, that's not a new path, so I don't really understand how it was ever retained as a recreational sporting facility in the first place. But just on that one, are we saying the same thing again, or are we saying it was intended to be kept as open space?
Councillor Smith, it's his proposal. What would you be happy to an amendment to that?
I didn't see any response from Sport England, so that's news to me. I didn't see it on the website. Did I miss that?
Yep, I read it. It was definitely there. No. I can share it if you wish.
Yeah, because I didn't see it this evening.
Yeah, you've got the right one. Oh, okay. Hang on a second, let's find a different one. There was 2 Sport England ones. It's one.
I made type. There were 2 natural England ones. You're not getting confused with those ones, are you, Colin?
This is Sport England. Thank you for consulting Sport England.
Can I just ask, did that come in after our previous consultation?
This is dated 23rd of May. Oh no, this is when I think that may be effective you downloading it, John.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. The date will be on the top of the letter, won't it?
Okay, could always try that one. 6th of December 21. So yeah, it probably was afterwards, wasn't it? When did we? Our consultation response, it isn't dated, but in the list, it's only a few documents above. So it quite possibly did come in after the meeting.
Okay. So we've got the proposal from Councillor Smith for neutral, with the comments. So what we're going to do to clarify our position on the old playing field part or the green space. Are we going to support the new area there, or are we going to say that it really should be left as a green space? Members of the committee. Councillor Smith.
I don't think it's the fact that the area should be left as a green space, but again, it's about an area being left as green space.
Yes.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Councillor Smith.
There was a letter, wasn't there, from somebody about this, from a member of the public, about a green space being left. So we could perhaps add that to our comments from before, that we would like to see a green space left on the site. That's the only thing I can think of really in that respect.
Yeah.
But I fully support the building as such, like as Councillor Burns has said as well.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, we all totally support, the aims of what, is happening there. But obviously we've got major concerns, especially, these same concerns were raised, late last year. and there doesn't seem to be any sort of feedback at all on those concerns. So, personally, I'd like to sort of reiterate our concerns, and hopefully we get some response back on those. But we've got a neutral position that's been proposed and agreed on by the committee. So if you can put that forward, and I think, Colin, or if you can distill our comments into some sort of, that would be great. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
Right. I'll hand back over to Councillor Pat Hanlon, Chair. Thank you for item 3.
Sorry, Chair, did we actually vote? I don't remember us actually voting, did we?
We did.
I think so.
All right. Well,
Okay.
yeah, we did, but we can show of hands again just to make sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll hand back over to Councillor Hanlon, Chair. Thank you.
Right, thank you for that. Thank you, Councillor Brown, for taking over. Okay, application 3, which is DC 220744 FUL, installation of telecom shelter and fencing. VX Fibre is the applicant. This is street record, Hellions Park Avenue. Okay, is there any comment to this, Councillor Burns? And then Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I have some problems with this. The noise issue, they just sort of say, oh, it's a low hum, but it's right next door to people's houses. Also, I did notice certainly the Hellions Park Avenue version, and also somebody, I think it was from Cambridge Way, but certainly Hellions Park was quite correctly saying this has been common land for a long, long time. It's interesting they say it's owned by West Suffolk Council. Now, when I spoke to West Suffolk Council, they've always denied ever owning it. So I don't know whether, I'd have to look on the land registry to really confirm that. But I do wonder whether they've been speaking to West Suffolk and somebody in property has said, oh, we can make some money out of this. Let's chuck this thing on. Now, I'm all for having fibre to the premises, most definitely. But are we going to see more and more of these boxes? This is actually a company that is not part of the Better Broadband Suffolk scheme. I believe it's a speculative company that is just putting stuff in on the basis that somebody will come along and buy their stuff. So what worries me is if they do it and then we never did get anything from GigaClear or whatever the name of the firm was in Essex. But, are we going to have hundreds of these things coming up all over the place, which really worries me on both of them. I think West Suffolk, as it's supposedly their land, certainly the one off Withersfield Road is, I think they need to be taking one step back and saying, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And speaking to people like Better Broadband Suffolk. Unfortunately, the person who worked at West Suffolk, who was on the Better Broadband board, has left them, and he was very good about advising them on that. Thank you.
Councillor Brown, and then Councillor Stitchcombe, and then Councillor Dave Smith.
Yeah, Chair, can we have a plan up if you can, please, to see exactly where it's going? Just to remind everyone. Yeah. Sorry, did you hear? Yeah, can we have a plan up, please, Colin? If it's okay.
He's trying to get it,
sorry.
Councillor Brown.
Yeah.
He's on the case.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to work out why it's not there. Hang on a second.
My website.
There you go. So that's Gertines there.
Yeah.
Quakers Lane.
Does it show whereabouts on that piece of land it's the proposed siting of it is?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, on another piece.
Okay. Yeah.
It's it's near people's back garden more than, which is to the top of it. That's their back garden.
Yeah. Yeah. Personally, if I can speak, Chair?
Yep, Councillor Brown, yes, certainly.
I think the comments that Councillor Byrne are 100% correct. We need a policy on these things. We can't have, we could end up with 6 of those things, all from different companies sitting on that piece of land, all humming away. It just seems a bit like, the Wild West, the potential that could happen here. Like John says, we all want, fibre and one thing and another, but we also don't want the streets cluttered with loads and loads of cabins everywhere. It just seems, ridiculous, the whole, potential scenario, how it could develop. I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Yeah. Councillor Sitcombe, then Councillor Dave Smith, then Councillor Liz Smith, and then Councillor Burns.
I'm afraid to say, in answer to that was Colin's point in some, I think it was correspondence that not the whole committee, whole working party were involved in originally. Is this turning into the Wild West, as you said, Tony? But I'm afraid it is. The nature of a public utility is that they can put whatever they want wherever they want, generally speaking. And the reason it doesn't happen with gas installations is that the network is in single ownership. It was nationalised, and it's now run as a single network for obvious, sensible reasons. And the same with electricity. And yet we've still got the idea that you've got to have competing broadband and competing mobile phone networks, which drives me up the pole. Really, it is crazy, as you say, but that's it. And I don't think unless we take on central government, unless we hire the coach and go and demonstrate outside number 10, I don't think we're going to win that one. So yeah, basically another utility could come up and say, yeah, we'd like a shelter on that land as well. What I think in general is that for small stuff anyway, they don't even need to negotiate with the landowner. They can put it there first, and then you can object afterwards. And I'm not even sure why they need planning permission. Is it because this is not a pole or a neat little cabinet? This is a shelter. This is like a mega cabinet, isn't it, with lots of kit in it? Is it because it's above a certain size? Colin maybe knows that we suddenly find planning permission is required. Thank you.
No, I've no idea why they need planning permission. I know that BT Openreach do have the power to plump their green boxes wherever they like, and we've seen in Swan Lane, when something gets dumped without any consultation whatsoever, they're almost immovable and can scupper lots of other things that could be done if it was better organised. I agree. I don't understand why this isn't a coordinated distribution. We want to try and cover the entire country with superfast broadband, and we've got companies squabbling over one set of customers instead of being given territories to look after. I just think where that's placed, I'm thinking, well, that whatever that land, the status of that land is, plonking it there is just about the most inconvenient place you could possibly put it. If there's any thought about creating access down to Quakers Lane, that potentially undermines that, any use of that land at all. I thought that there was a proposal for housing along the back of Gertines that would probably come in through that way. So I think they can't just dump these things wherever they like. It needs to be somewhere sensible. And do we even need 6,000 capacity telephone connections at that particular part of town? I don't know.
Thanks for that. You want to come back on that?
Can I just chip in? My guess is because it's not very far from the telephone exchange. That would be my instant answer to that last query, Colin. But I mean, we could, I suppose, someone could come up with a proposal, perhaps it'll be me in a moment, that says, yeah, we're not too unhappy with that, but could it be nudged south a bit so that it's not all, east a bit or whatever we think is more sensible than being right on the corner there. Thank you.
Councillor Dave Smith?
I wasn't sure if I indicated that. I think I was just scratching my head, but I was wondering why these boxes are allowed to be put virtually anywhere, but Councillor Stinkham, I think, has just covered that. In fact, it is sort of like open policy. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Smith?
Including...
I was just going to say...
I'll come back to you, Councillor Stinkham.
That's right. I was just going to say I agree with all the comments, particularly Councillor Burns' comments and Councillor Brown's comments about, they just seem to be, these could just pop up anywhere, as you say, and that there's quite a bit of land there, and the thought of having several of these boxes from different companies on that same land, I think is a bit frightening. So yeah, I agree. I think we should object to that rather than stay neutral. I think we should object to this, and looking at the next one as well is another possibility. Anyway, that's the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burns and then Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I think Colin.
Sorry, Councillor Burns. Councillor Stinkham, I did say come back, and then I'll come to you, and then Councillor Brown. Councillor Stinkham.
Thank you for privileging me, Chair. I think the answer to Dave's question. Oh, sorry, I forget who's a recent thing was issued. Well, perhaps it was Liz actually was saying whether they can put it anywhere. Yes, they can. And I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. But actually, my bigger question to Liz is object. Okay, but on what grounds? I don't think there is any, other than we don't like it. It doesn't actually seem good enough grounds for objection, really. I think we need a reason for objecting, that it's, going to hinder access if it's too close to the corner. That's kind of is logical to me, but not just because we don't like it. I'm afraid the nature of it is competition. That's the government strategy, is to allow there to be competition in this particular market. And so there's no answer to that, is there, other than we don't like it. But just let me point out, and this applies to members of the public who are maybe listening on YouTube, this has happened in Scotland. I've distributed details of the relevant newspaper article to people I thought were particularly interested a month or two back. Someone can plonk, while you're away on holiday, someone can plonk. By the way, a lot of fibre is going to go in by pole. Do you remember back in the 50s and 60s, stuff still went in by pole, didn't it? Because it was a cheap way of getting telephone lines around suburbs. Then we decided it was a damn good idea to put everything underground because it was neater and it didn't block people's views, blah, blah, blah. This is the dash for fibre now, and it's competitive dash for fibre. And the cheap way of doing that is, guess what? Stick it back on a pole. So a guy in Scotland goes off on holiday, comes back and finds a pole with fibre on it on his lawn, and assumes that it is a mistake, that they didn't realise it was, they thought it was, public land, not his private garden. So he contacts BT or Openreach, or whoever it was, put it there. No, it's not a mistake at all. They can put it on your lawn. Yeah, so be warned, everyone. It can happen, and it's not a mistake. It's deliberate. You can object to it, but as Colin said, are you going to succeed in your objection? Probably not, unless you've got some very high-powered lawyers. Thank you.
Colin, I'll come to you. Councillor Burns, and then Councillor Brown, then Colin.
I've just realised a big line across my face.
Looks like a laser beam.
Yeah, sorry, it was the blind. I agree totally what Colin said. I was going to bring that up about the position of it. If this is really West Suffolk land, this would be under the One Public Estate banner as well, even though it's only a little bit of land. If it really is West Suffolk land, then perhaps they actually own Quakers Lane as well, in which case what we've been arguing about for the last 3 or 4 years about getting that road upgraded. So I think the problem here with this particular company, and I'm sure others are exactly the same, is it is totally speculative. They've not mentioned how they're going to get it from this cabinet to people's houses. Yeah, you're dead right, Councillor Stinchcombe. We had Openreach tell us about that. They were going to put 60 or 70 poles up in Haverhill. And certainly, where you don't have conduit or ability to get into people's house, you're going to have to do that. And that's what they're doing. They're going to the tops of people's by the eaves and going into the loft system and then down the house, which for me would be perfect, but that's fine. I think that, this is one of many. I think they're just going to chuck this box in here and potentially do nothing with it until they get people signed up. And I do worry about the noise, you know, where we say, oh, it's, you know, it's just a low hum, but people with certain hearing things will hear a low hum constantly, you know, night and day. That probably is some sort of thing. But I do wonder why people like Openreach have been going around town digging out conduit that's been filled with silt and everything and putting everything underground everywhere. Their exception is that they will go on a pole only if they cannot get to a house by any other means. I think, you know, this firm, I have read up about them, they're a Swedish firm. That's what they do. They basically install stuff and hope they get customers. So I will, you know, regardless of what happens here, I will be writing to the council to ask them, one, their policy, and two, to object to it. Because I think we need to find out how you're going to get cables from A to B as well. Are they going to end up with, you know, pylons, if you like, across our town? Who knows? Thank you.
Yeah, there's no harm in the working party writing to the council and asking the same questions. Councillor Brown,
Yeah.
And then Colin, and then Councillor Dave Smith.
Yeah. Personally, I think we should object to this cabinet due to its positioning. So we might be more amenable if it was, you know, to the southern boundary of that site up against the path. But it's also, what's the route of the cables? It's potentially, if it's coming across that piece of land, that could absolutely, you know, make that land, you know, useless for any other, you know, purpose. And I know when we're talking about the one down in Swan Lane, that was going to cost, I think, when we looked into that, something like £200,000 BT wanted to move that over to the wall where they should have put it in the first place. So, you know, I'd like to propose that we object on its actual position, and put a footnote in there to say that, you know, we would be minded to agree if it was up, you know, where we think it should go. But also, you know, the noise issue. Is there been any sound or noise assessment, yeah, at all with these?
Well, they said it's 85 decibels, so I presume they must have done a noise thing to tell that.
I'd like that to be independently verified or somehow verified, because, you know, I think you know, on their say so, it doesn't take a, you know, it only needs slightly different sort of bearing in it or something like that, and it makes, you know, quite a bit more noise. I don't know, but yeah, but I'd like to, you know, propose that we object to its position.
Thank you. Colin? And then Councillor Dave Smith.
Thank you, Chair. If I might just quickly share a screen, if that's okay.
Yep.
I'll share that one first. So that piece of land is what we're talking about.
Oh, right.
And then just in terms of register.
So who owns the other bit then?
No, but this is back in July 2014. I never throw emails away. This is West Suffolk confirming that land belongs to them.
Ah, well done, Colin. That saves you a job, Councillor Burns, doesn't it?
I'll save you £3.
Well, I was actually on that, yeah, but I have to say that that's why Colin keeps all his emails.
So in terms of reasons for objecting, Chair, it's not sustainable because it's just being plonked without due regard to future use of the land. I would have said that it's not in keeping with the street scene. I don't see any other large rectangular green boxes with pointy fences all around them, either there or on Withersfield Road. And it's also within the setting of a listed building. It's the back of Gertines there. It's
yes,
yeah,
of course.
Again, think about the setting for Gertines. Whilst it may not be the most attractive view of it, it's still within reach. So there's always something we can find. I have to say, just looking at the map of the one in Withersfield Road, I think they threw a dart, to be perfectly honest, in terms of where they chose the location for that other one.
I think you're right there. Councillor Smith, Dave Smith.
Yeah, I was going to make the point around the street scene as well, but so I'm glad Colin's brought that up. I think it's interesting you talking about whether it goes up a pole or underground. There is actually a rather large telegraph pole there on that site, so they could easily just use that rather than putting a box there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought to myself that if they, people was worried about sort of putting boxes everywhere on that piece of land, if we do sort of have to go with what they say, that put the box there, we could say that we want shrubs round it, trees round it, and also soundproofing round it, a soundproofing fence, not just a metal fence. So it's them sort of things that we could say, and hopefully that'll block all the other boxes going there. So it's whether they do it or not, but there's no harm in sort of saying them sort of things. Just bear that in mind for the future. But I think it's a really good point that Colin's brought up about the Gertines. I really do. And that should go into it, as been said. Right, Councillor Burns?
Just to clarify, you mentioned 85 decibels is 58 decibels.
Oh, 55.
I know you got it the wrong way around. But
Yeah.
58 dB is still quite loud to certain people.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a logarithmic scale, but so we've got to be very careful. If it's constant 58 dB, it doesn't just become a low hum. It can be more painful to certain people.
Especially young people, actually. Young people could pick up
they can do
many more loud sounds than what we can.
At what location? At what location is that, please, John?
I think that's actually at the. It doesn't really give. I'm just reading here.
Yeah, well, if it just says the equipment has a sound level of 58, that means 1 meter from it. So if your house is 30 meters from it, you're not going to hear it.
No, that's correct. But equally, sound obviously changes as it goes over distance. And equally, I don't know whether it doesn't even mention it. Is it actually inside the unit? Is it outside the unit? What is it?
No, well, I agree that the lack of clarity doesn't help, but actually that, if not otherwise stated, it's just a local level at a standard distance of 1 meter. So
that's correct.
That means you're standing next to it. And it's open air, remember, I know that means there's no barrier, but it also means that the sound is dispersing uniformly in all directions. It really does soak away fairly rapidly.
It can do, but not if you've got particular hearing problems. That's what the problem is.
Possibly, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, right. We've got a proposal from Councillor Brown. Does it include what Colin mentioned about the
totally take on board the suggested amendments by Colin.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Can I have a second for that, please? That's Councillor Liz Smith. All those in favour, please show. Yep, overwhelming. Right, the next application, which is same, which is application 4 DC 220743 FUL, telecommunications shelter, VX fibre, telecommunications cabinet, Withersfield Road, and this is the same, as I say, Councillor Brown, do you want to propose the same?
Exactly.
Last time?
Exactly, Chair. Thank you.
And Councillor Liz Smith, do you want to second that again? Yeah. Right. Okay. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Overwhelming. Right, back to the agenda now. Matters to report. Colin?
We've had a email through from Beth Deacon at Persimmon Homes, Thank you for Town Council's time. It was a pleasure to meet everyone, have a chance to have meaningful discussions in respect of the local centre. Following on from the meeting, I was hoping I could ask the Town Council what local centres they were wanting us to take inspiration from. I know there was a keen discussion about Persimmon Homes visiting local centres in Haverhill to see what works well and what doesn't work well. So they sent through an attachment, and basically they've sent through pictures of the Leyston Road shopping area, the basically all the shopping areas, local shopping areas in Haverhill, asking which one we want them to replicate. I thought we don't want them to replicate any of those. I think we want them to find a modern exemplar somewhere else. Perhaps there may even be one that Persimmon themselves have built elsewhere in the country that they think they're proud of. They haven't included any as examples, but I'm sure that they must have some. So I wondered, I wasn't at that meeting. Am I correct? The committee want to confirm that they want us to go back and say that they need to find modern examples.
Yeah. Councillor Burns, then Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I mean, some of our things are okay, but they were probably okay when they were built in 1970s for the people at that time. But times have changed. I would, what I'd be asking them to do also is, why don't you go across the road and talk to Redrow, because Mrs. Pelly is currently working on the local centre for the Great Willsey development. And perhaps, we should have a joint effort of making sure that we got two very nice local centres for our new residents. But I think you're dead right. You need to go and look at places around the country. I'm not talking about locally, but anywhere around the country where local centres that have been around a little while, not brand new ones, but ones, that are well looked after. I mean, there's one, to be honest with you, the one up near the Howard estate in Bury, where the new community centre is. I can't remember what it's called now, but there's a nice shopping centre area there. But I don't know what people think of that one, for example. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually, because if they don't get together, you might have exactly the same on both of them, really, mightn't you? Or the same shape sort of thing and things like that. So they need to be slightly different to each other as well, which is true. Councillor Brown, and then Councillor Stitchcombe.
Yeah, I would totally agree with what Colin said. Let's ask Persimmon. They must have done dozens and dozens of these across the country. Let's let them come back with some of their ideas and stuff that's worked. I also support exactly what John said as well. But just as another point is about 2.5 years ago, I did a trip in Holland, and I was looking for a shop sort of thing, and I ended up on this like estate similar to one we got in Haverhill, and they had a little shopping centre, and I thought, this is lovely. And I looked and I thought, well, actually, it's very similar to what we've got in the Leyston or on the Chalkston, but it's really well looked after. The people look after it and appreciate it, and it's really well used. And I thought, maintenance and keeping it, nice and painted and one thing or another makes a hell of a difference. So we really need to make sure that happens, because I say this little shopping area was a 70s shopping area, but they had a cafe outside, chairs, little shops. It was a really pleasant little area in the community, and I thought, it's exactly what was planned, on the Chalkston, on the Clements estate. But somehow the rug just got pulled from underneath it, and maintenance fell away, etc., etc. So I think we really, whatever happens, we really need to try and emphasise that it's maintained and looked after. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Councillor Brown. Councillor Stitchcombe, you're muted.
Sorry, I was hitting my space bar, but I didn't have the app on the screen at the time because I was looking for a document. Please don't hold your breath, anyone, but thinking about the Section 106 money over on the Willsey with the health contribution, or either health land or cash contribution in lieu. Michael Gove did say, was it a week ago, said that he wasn't too fussed about building 300,000 homes a year. The important thing was the infrastructure was there. But the government, I don't think, is doing anything to actually make Michael Gove's utterances happen. You know, no one is worried about the health infrastructure being there before the houses are built. But or does someone know better? Does someone know that has actually been followed up with some definite legislation being proposed so that you can't just have a big estate without any health provision being there? Because we know we're short already in Haverhill. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone
Okay,
else?
I'll go back then.
Yeah.
Chair, the other half of their email was to say that they've attached a sketch of the eastern block of flats proposed for phase 6. I hope this image provides a degree of comfort with the proposed landscaping surrounding this part of the development. You'll be to share screen on that.
Yes, please. Well, I must admit, I congratulate the artist. I think that's pretty good, even though there's sort of the humans don't look good, but I think that looks pretty colourful and nice, doesn't it? Councillor Liz-Smith?
Yeah, it's still, if they're showing the elevation correctly, it's still showing that's going up to a higher point, isn't it? Which is what I think was one of our objections or one of our concerns.
Yeah.
Is that it's still sort of going up to a higher point. Yeah, I mean, it's probably, you know, it would be a little bit more pleasing to the eye with the landscaping that, I suppose, at the front, but it's still going to be quite an elevated area. Thank you.
Yeah, because Councillor Mason, I'll come to both of you in a minute. Councillor Mason said he wanted more gaps, didn't he? I noticed there's just one at the top there, isn't there? Councillor Brown, I saw first, and then Councillor Dave Smith.
Yeah. What about if they swapped it around so that the 3-storey at the top is down at the bottom end and the lower 2-storey stuff is up at the higher end? That would sort of potentially even it out, flatten it out a bit. And like Councillor Mason said, I think it does need another gap in there.
Yeah, I think what they said having that way, Councillor Brown, was that it's, you know, when they go by what people see from the bottom, although it's not near, you don't stand near, but I'm talking far away. So what they will see is 3-storey building first, and the small houses they won't see. They'll just see the big building first from a distance. And I think that's the reason why they won't do it that way round. That's the gist that I got from the meeting in any case. What did I say? Councillor Dave Smith?
That, what you just said there seems like the opposite to what they would want. Well, surely they want the bigger buildings not to be visible and the small ones to be visible. But anyway, I thought it was quite interesting that you said at the beginning the eastern block of flats, because that does look a bit Eastern Bloc, doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if you meant me or Councillor Brown on that, Councillor Smith. I was saying that that's what they were saying. You would see the 3 block of flats first if you looked at from a distance. If it was the other way around, in other words, if you put, you know, the single houses, if you put them at the top and then put that 3-storey buildings first instead of them 3 houses, you would see the 3-storey from a distance first. This way, you see them at the end, at the distance. You'll see the 3-storey buildings at the back and not at the front.
Yeah, I don't think they'll change.
What I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they'll change them around.
Their explanation of it.
Yeah, they won't change it because that will go against their idea of having like a gateway to the different little bits of development. They want the 3-storey buildings to give it that sort of imposing look at the entrance. But
yeah,
I still think that it's too high.
yeah. It's because it's on top of the hill, isn't it? You know, you're right. It's right. Okay. Is there any other comments at all from anyone? No. Okay, Colin.
And that's it from me.
Sorry.
I don't have any other things to add.
Right. Okay. Any other, Councillor Burns? Any other thing to add to that? To Matt's report? No. He's not with us anymore. Don't got the sound of it. Right. Is there anybody else? Matt's report? No. Okay. Right. Thank you, everyone. Date of, item 9, which is date of next meeting, which is the 7th of June at 7 p.m. And thank you all for attending. And thank you, Debbie. And thank you, Colin. See you soon.